All right, folks, we are live here in Gulfport, Mississippi, currently being affected by the outer bands of Hurricane Francine. I just was out there a minute ago or so and got wind gusts on the anemometer down at the surface out there on the sidewalk, around 11 miles an hour. I imagine with some of these stronger gusts that I was in the car for recently, maybe a little bit stronger than that, but generally, relatively easterly or east southeasterly wind, blowing roughly parallel to the beach. Not too strong yet. Obviously, it's a much different story for parts of central Louisiana. So I just wanted to take a look here. So I've got the 6 p.m. position update on Francine. So it has made landfall. Did so about an hour ago at the 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time advisory. Made landfall in Terrebonne Parish, Louisiana, as a 100-mile-an-hour Category 2 hurricane. So it did achieve Category 2 status. It is now just inland over central Louisiana. And this is the latest update. So it's now down to a Category 1, has weakened just a little bit, at the center at least. Winds are down now to 90 miles an hour sustained, currently moving to the northeast at 17 miles an hour, and the pressure has come up just a little bit to 975 millibars. And let me see if I can get some of the other maps up really quick. So obviously this is the Hurricane Center's website. Let me also try to get the mic string out of the way. So here we have the forecast cone for Francine as we go through the coming days. This is based on 4 p.m. was when they issued this. So obviously it's a little bit outdated in the fact that the storm at the time had not quite crossed land, but it has done so now. But nonetheless, most of this still remains true. You've got your hurricane force windshield in that red/brown coloring around the X. Obviously, the X marks the center of the storm, the center of the eye, and then the tropical storm force wind in that yellow, and then all of your hurricane force. Your hurricane warnings in red, and then your tropical storm warnings in blue. As you can see, that extends all the way from western Louisiana to the Alabama-Florida border. And I think it's just worth mentioning, for a lot of areas in South Mississippi, the storm has not quite, I should say the worst of the weather has not quite reached these areas yet. Let me see if I can get the radar to pull in. But you're still dealing with deteriorating conditions, even though the storm is inland and weakening slowly. That doesn't mean that the core of the storm can't still move closer to South Mississippi and South Alabama in the next several hours, and as we go into tomorrow morning, and it is certainly expected to do so as it accelerates off to the northeast. So let's see if we can get the radar to pull in here. My apologies, it's being relatively slow here. And in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and look at some of the other graphics that the Hurricane Center has for us. This is the peak storm surge potential here that I'm pulling up. So we're looking at 5 to 10 feet of sea level rise there where the storm makes landfall, or made landfall, I should say. 4 to 7 feet over here. A wide swath of this, 2 to 4 feet, even upwards of 4 to 6 feet in parts of the South Mississippi coastline. So this is what we're going to see here in Gulfport. We could potentially see up to 6 feet of storm surge, and that would be as the storm moves on by and we get that wind to switch around in direction. Instead of parallel to the beach here from the east-southeast, we're going to get more of a southerly wind, and it's going to get much stronger, and that's going to push all that water over the sand and eventually possibly over Highway 90 here. Nonetheless, you've got 3 to 5 feet as you get closer to the Alabama border. 2 to 4 feet is pretty much what's expected in the Mobile metropolitan area, and then also 1 to 2 feet in the Pensacola area. So that's that. Not dealing with a huge rainmaker, though it is coming down pretty good here in South Mississippi right now as these bands come through. But overall, it's starting to pick up some speed. It's moving to the northeast at 17 miles an hour now, so it's not going to stick around long enough to dump a huge amount of rain. And it's also being affected slowly by some dry air that's just kind of streaming across the south right now. I'd pull up the water vapor, but it would take a minute. I don't want to do that just yet. But nonetheless, you've got dry air mixing in, and that's going to cause the storm not to dump quite as much rainfall, which is good news for the Gulf Coast, as well as the forward speed will limit that somewhat. Nonetheless, you've got this area here of southeastern Louisiana, the New Orleans metro, where you're looking, that indicates that correlates to 8 to 12 inches of rain still to come in the coming days. So that could be a little bit of a concern, especially New Orleans. The city itself lies below sea level, so any water that accumulates, whether that's storm surge flooding off of, say, Lake Pontchartrain, as the storm moves on by and you get a wind from the north or west pushing that water in potentially, or just rainfall itself, that water has to be pumped out of New Orleans, so that could be a concern there as well. And then you've also got this wide swath here of 4 to 6 inches in that yellow coloring, all up and down through Mississippi State, the eastern side of Mississippi State to be specific. Let's see if we can get the radar pull in now. Okay, I'm not sure why this is being this slow, but nonetheless, we will bear with it here. Just while we're waiting, I do want to also look ahead to what we can expect out of the storm. Obviously, as it moves on by, eventually, it will move inland, and you see this dot here change color from black to white. And that indicates that the storm will be turning extratropical. That dry air is going to mix in. It become an extratropical cyclone or post-tropical, whatever you want to call it. And it will do that as it moves up the Mississippi River, roughly, and into parts of the southeastern or eastern Ozarks, I should say. That will occur Friday and into the weekend. So that's the latest with the storm. Obviously, it's going to move further east just a little bit, and so that could result in more severe impacts felt in places like South Mississippi, South Alabama. I will be going live later on tonight, several times probably in along the South Mississippi coastline here as these bands come through, and I want to do some live shots out there as things kind of gradually go downhill. Okay, let's see if we can't get this to come in here. Let me play. See if I can at least get Mobile to come in. Maybe it's just that New Orleans site. Yeah, here we go. I don't know why New Orleans was taking so long. So we haven't seen, obviously, most of this out here really isn't, especially this over here, isn't so much affiliated directly with the circulation of the hurricane. It's more just moisture being advected, from the southeasterly flow around the storm. Not dealing with too strong of winds out here, and the same thing over here in Mississippi for the most part right now. Not dealing with significantly strong winds. It's just you've got all this moisture, being brought in off the Gulf by that southeasterly wind, and so that condenses out and forms all these showers, these light to moderate rain showers. Obviously, you've got drier air, as I mentioned earlier, on this side of the storm, and so that is preventing all of that convection from forming over here. So this down here, this is what the real core of the storm entails. This is where those hurricane force winds are being felt down here in the eye wall. Which has obviously just moved inland, kind of near Morgan City. So it looks like it's just between Morgan City and Homa. And obviously, I would like to be able to pull in these other radar sites, but it looks like I'm not sure. It looks like the local, the non the non dual pole radar that's in downtown New Orleans. It looks like it's actually down right now. I'm not sure if that's due to the storm or what happened there. I can try and pull in, see if Slidell will pull in, but I'm not too. I think it's also down for maintenance, but we can see here. Let's see if Slidell will pull in. Let's see. Can we get data? Okay, maybe not. So it looks like Slidell might still be down as well, which is actually not good. As far as tracking the storm, we really, I could try Lake Charles. That might actually give us a better picture here. Let's see what we get to pull in out of Lake Charles, if anything. Let's see. Okay, this is not working out too well. Not as well as I'd hoped. All right, let's go back to Mobile because I do want to analyze some things, even if we can't get quite as good of a picture of the storm as I initially had hoped. Because some of these cells, obviously you had one earlier that, just south of Dauphin Island. It was not too concerning, but also somewhat in the sense that you did have some rotation out there, and they were watching it for water spouts. It looks like you've also got some cells down here where you've got some actually frequent lightning down here with these just off the southeast tip here of Louisiana. You got this very, very significant lightning here as well as here. Looks like we've also got a special marine warning issued, and I'm looking at this for the first time. Just looking like a cluster of severe thunderstorms capable of producing water spouts. So yeah, they're watching these for water spouts, and obviously, anytime you have lightning in the middle of a hurricane, you're dealing with something that is rather intense, and you almost certainly probably don't want to be out in. You also have these two little areas over off the coast of Panama City Beach and Port St. Joe. Those are also marine warnings. You see one lightning strike there. So some of those could be firing up as well. These as well might be a little bit of a area for concern for the Pensacola and Pensacola, Destin, Fort Walton Beach here in the coming hours. We'll just have to see how that plays out. Nonetheless, you've actually got some fairly intense weather occurring here in this little broken band. You've got all this lightning occurring, indicating that you've got relatively significant convection. Let's see what the winds are doing here. So we're actually getting wow. We're getting now this is almost 6,000 feet above the surface. So I don't know how much of this is making it down to the ground. Unfortunately, we don't have a lower tilt on the radar side. This is as low as it goes. So that's just kind of what we have to deal with. But we are looking at winds around 50 miles an hour being observed. And it looks like we almost have some, we actually have a little bit of aliasing where it actually goes over the maximum amount that the radar can actually observe. And so, it looks like we're dealing with winds probably in this pink shading here around 50 knots or so. So actually, you would say probably about 60 mile an hour winds. Sorry, I actually accidentally messed something up there. So as I was saying, looking at about 60-mile-an-hour winds in these little pink shadings, it looks like. So this is no joke. Obviously take the storm seriously. Don't let your guard down yet just because it's raining and it's not. You think, oh, these bands are coming in, but it's not real bad yet. A lot of that's because, especially places like South Mississippi, South Alabama, the worst of it's not there yet. The worst weather that you're going to see is going to be, later on tonight in the overnight hours, and in the morning hours of tomorrow. And that's as the storm actually moves from Louisiana northeast into Mississippi, and eventually moves on out of here, but not before bringing tropical storm force winds likely. You could see power outages. You could see significant damage, perhaps to mobile homes in the area. So, just because we're not dealing with a direct hit doesn't mean that you necessarily want to just write off the storm and forget about it. That's not to mention also flooding, down trees, down power lines. Several hazards can occur just, even far outside of the cone and where the storm actually hits. So, now obviously in New Orleans, or I should say in this area here where in the vicinity of the actual center, actually just looks like just southwest of New Orleans now. You've got very strong velocities obviously observed in that eye wall, which is obviously going to start falling apart due to both the land interaction and just the dry air, the very abundant amount of it that is starting to mix in with the circulation. But nonetheless, don't let your guard down in the storm. And I think they actually bumped up the Nyquist velocity, which is a good idea. So all this can be observed now. So yeah, we're looking at, let's see here. It almost looks like it's still aliases though, because it hits, our Nyquist velocity is 63 knots. That's the maximum the radar can observe. Right here, it hits about 60, and then it switches to the other side. So I would say, I would say some of these areas here, you're dealing with about 80 knots, believe it or not, which is pretty consistent with what the National Hurricane Center detailed in their advisory. 80 knots, probably looking about 90, 95 mile an hour winds observed here. It looks like just northwest of Golden Meadow, just to the west of Galliano, LaRose, even coming into Jay, Louisiana. So it looks like actually just to the northwest of Grand Isle. So this, like I said, this storm isn't a joke. It's, it's something you definitely want to take seriously as it moves along here. It's going to weaken, but not before doing some damage. And so we will continue to monitor it on this channel. I'll be going live, I guarantee you, probably actually here in a few minutes. I'll probably do a live shot out there in one of these bands when it comes through, within the next hour or two, for certain. And other than that, everyone just stay safe. Try to avoid traveling, especially if you're in the state of Louisiana, South Louisiana. Try to avoid traveling this evening if you can, and the same thing in South Mississippi and South Alabama. As we go through the nighttime hours, really the best thing you can do is just kind of stay off the roads, stay home if you can, stay put. This isn't a serious storm, but it can be life-threatening if you allow it to. If you get what I'm saying, don't go out of your way to put yourself in harm's way. But nonetheless, that will do it. Again, please like the stream, subscribe to the channel for more updates.